Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. Her ring hit my table and spun. Say it to my face, her breath shook. I kept my hand still and met her eyes. I'm Mara, 32, and I didn't flinch. You should have expected your marriage to get homewrecked. The room tilted. She grabbed the ring and stuffed it in her pocket. Explain or I walk, her jaw locked. I nodded once and reached for my coat. Not here, I stood and opened the door. She followed fast like I had stolen something. We pushed through the hallway and down the stairs. Her phone lit up and went dark again. You knew something, she brushed past my shoulder. I saw enough to connect it, my chest tightened. She stopped on the landing and blocked me. Who? Her finger hovered inches from my face. Theo, I kept my voice even and low. A couple passed and stared, then hurried away. Move, I said, and she did with a jerk. We hit the street and the air bit hard. I headed for my car near the corner. She yanked the passenger door and slid in. I counted 3 breaths before starting the engine. We're not driving far, I tapped the wheel once. Good, she said, eyes steady and cold. We rolled behind the bar by the dumpsters. The engine ticked and then quieted to nothing. Her hands trembled and then flattened on her knees. You think I asked for this? She waited. I watched the rearview mirror like it might answer. I think you courted risk with him, my voice held. You liked how rules bent when he smiled, her stare hardened. You're rewriting history, she pointed at my chest. There is no history here, only alarms. I leaned closer. She blinked twice and refused to look away. Show me the alarms, her mouth barely moved. I unlocked my phone and pulled a folder. I turned the screen toward her without commentary. A shot from the reception glowed loud enough. Her mouth parted like a wound that would not close. Her fingers hovered and then pinched to zoom. Her hand on his thigh under the linen. His grin hid behind his hand like shelter. Your ring turned inward to hide the stone. She inhaled sharply and pressed her tongue to molars. That means nothing, her whisper scratched like sand. Then why turn the ring? I asked calmly. It snagged on fabric, her eyes refused to blink. It snagged on guilt, I hated my own mouth. She exhaled through her nose like a bull. Her phone buzzed again and again and again. She flipped it over and stared at the banner. Husband's name, new message, no preview displayed. She didn't open it, which told me plenty. Silence sat heavy and started to creak. Keep going, she squeezed the phone until it clicked. I swiped to a screenshot from Theo. Your emojis, his late-night promises, locations in shorthand. She read fast and then faster, then stopped. Context, she tried that word like a shield. You were both counting down to danger, I breathed steadily. You told me he was a friend of friends, her lips twitched. He collects people like dares then drops them, my throat burned. You called him exciting once, her eyebrow arched sharp. I call hurricanes exciting too, I still bored windows. She sank back and stared at the glove box. I never slept with him, her voice went flat. My hand tightened on the wheel and released. I didn't ask that because it's not the point. She studied me like I had stolen the point. What is the point then? Her finger tapped rhythm. You saw the slope and chose the slide, I answered. Theo isn't magic, he's a magnet for mess. You think I'm mess, she waited for a rescue. I let the waiting stretch until it pricked. Her phone buzzed once more and then stopped. She opened the message with a small swipe. A photo loaded slow enough to hurt us. Boxes, hallway, suitcase by the door like a threat. She locked the screen and did not breathe. Say it again, she whispered into the dashboard. I felt something twist and still I obeyed. You should have expected fallout when you teased fire. I hated the word fire as it left me. She looked at me like I had lit the match. Is this you being righteous? She set her jaw. This is me being direct because time matters. You enjoy this, she spit the words like seeds. I enjoy clean exits and you burned yours. Her laugh cracked and died in her throat. She opened the door and cold rushed in. I'm going to beg him to talk, she hesitated. If he agrees, you will listen without defense. She froze with one foot outside and stared hard. You don't get to set rules for my grief. I get to set rules for my car, I held ground. And for our friendship if it stays alive. She stepped back inside and shut the door slow. Tell me how to fix a crater then. Her eyes shone and dared me to blink. You start by telling the whole truth, I steadied. You hand him your phone and the passcode. You spit out every near miss and every maybe. You ask what he wants and you say yes. And you cut Theo from your life like surgery. She pressed our palms to her eyes and nodded. I hate you for being right now. You can hate me and still follow the map. She dropped her hands and found my stare again. Drive me home before I change my mind. I pulled from the alley and cut across 2 lanes. Call him now, I kept my voice measured. Her phone vibrated and kept vibrating in her fist. She hit dial and put it on speaker. Voicemail caught us on the second ring, then silence. Leave a message, I tapped the wheel once. I'm coming home, she said, breathing hard between words. No defensiveness, I'll listen, please open the door. She ended the call and stared straight ahead. A truck swerved near us and clipped the line. Block Theo before we reach your block. Her thumb hovered like it weighed a kilo. Now I watched the screen, not the curb. She searched the thread and pressed the little options. Done, she swallowed, then set the phone down. A new text flashed from an unknown number. Wrong move, the letters sat like a threat. She gripped the handle and looked at me. That's him, her voice flattened and stayed low. Change your number after tonight, I said. We turned onto her street and I eased forward. A dark sedan idled 2 doors from her building. The driver glanced at us and then away. Keep moving, she whispered, shoulders rising toward ears. I rolled past slow, pretending to search parking. Her apartment entrance waited with the gate unlatched. He always latched it, even on quick trips. Text your husband that we're outside, I said. She typed with 2 thumbs like she was diffusing. Message sent, she breathed and watched the doorway. The sedan crept forward and stopped near the hydrant. I cut the engine and kept the keys pocketed. If he steps out, stay inside this car. She nodded fast and leaned closer to the window. The driver lifted a phone and filmed us. A ping landed and brightened her face. Come alone, the message read, no greeting attached. He's upstairs, she whispered, relief and dread mixing. You go, I wait and guard the street. She opened the door, paused, then turned back. If he bolts, stall him, she said, jaw set. Promise me you will not explain for me. You explain yourself or this dies on the stairs. She exhaled and started for the gate, then stopped. The sedan window lowered 2 inches and paused. A hand rested on the glass edge like bait. Ignore it, I angled the mirror toward the car. She pushed the gate and took the steps fast. I watched the sedan and counted slow breaths. The driver smirked and looked at his phone. Another ping, she had forgotten to mute notifications. I grabbed her phone from the cup holder. Screen showed a new message from her husband. Top lock is jammed, knock twice, I'll open. I texted back 1 word, she's coming, then waited. The sedan's door twitched like a muscle about to spasm. I opened my door and let the hinge protest. Leave, I said toward the car without raising volume. The driver's smile stayed, but his eyes cooled. He lifted the phone and angled it at my plate. Footsteps hit the stairs above the gate, fast, decisive, close. I stepped out of the lane and braced myself. A second set of steps followed, slower and heavier. The gate flew and a man faced me bare-eyed. He held a folded lease in one hand. Where is she? His focus cut through me. Upstairs with you, she's knocking now. He scanned the sidewalk and spotted the sedan. Is that him? His voice sharpened without volume. Probably, I kept my stance and did not blink. Tell him to get lost, he extended the lease. Inside it, 2 spare keys glinted like tiny verdicts. She will need these if she stays alone. You can tell her that yourself, I said. He looked past me and waited for a sound. A door above clicked, then shut, then clicked again. Her steps returned faster than before, almost running. She reached the gate and saw the lease. Her face shifted, then steadied, then hardened. Let me upstairs, she told him, not me. He held the gate and studied her hands first. No more secrets, he said, voice jagged but controlled. Inside, we talk on neutral ground, he glanced up. I lifted the phone and showed the sedan. He nodded once and moved aside without ceremony. She slipped in and did not look back. The gate closed and the bolts settled like a verdict. I turned toward the car and took 3 steps. The driver lifted both palms like a performance. His mouth formed a slow laugh without sound. I dialed a rideshare to block his escape. The app matched me with a car behind him. 2 headlights pinned the sedan from the rear. He cursed loud enough for me to hear. He threw the car into gear and jerked forward. I stepped into the lane and forced him wide. Tires screeched and then cut hard onto cross traffic. The rideshare pulled into his spot and idled. I canceled the ride and tipped extra to stay. The driver shrugged and settled like a hire. "Diwal." Another ping landed from upstairs, this time from her. "Answer if I call, do not come up." I typed back one word, "always," then waited. The sedan turned the corner and vanished from sight. I breathed out and felt the next fight forming. Her call came fast and breathless. "Come up now, he wants your phone as proof." I checked the street and the idling rideshare. "If I leave, that car returns," I warned. "I need you anyway," she whispered, then ended. I signaled the driver to keep position. He tapped the wheel and looked at the meter. 10 more minutes, he muttered without commitment. I nodded and opened my door halfway. The sedan reappeared at the corner like a threat. I walked to the gate and buzzed twice. Locks rattled above like someone weighing options. The gate opened an inch, then fully. He stood there barefaced with steady eyes. "Phone," he said, palm open between us. I placed the device on his open hand. "No edits, no deletions, full gallery," I said. He scanned the folders without blinking once. "You kept timestamps," he murmured and stiffened. "Everything matters tonight," I answered and followed. We reached the door and went inside tight. She stood near the table with clenched fists. "Read it all," she urged and stepped back. He laid my phone down like a blade. "Start with the oldest thread," he ordered, jaw tight. He scrolled through screenshots and short clips. His breath shortened on a calendar capture. "Explain this block with initials and arrows." "Meeting code," I said and stared at her. She nodded once and braced for the next blow. He tapped another image that showed a receipt. "Why is this charged under your card?" I remembered covering a group bill quickly. She asked me to pay and transfer later. He looked at her and waited without blinking. "It was for drinks and a rideshare," she managed. "Nothing private," she added and rubbed her wrist. He rotated the screen and leaned closer. "Hotel authorization, same date as that dinner." Her throat worked and then stopped mid-swallow. "I booked a room for friends who miss trains." She stared at the wall like it might help. "Names?" he asked, voice flat and unshaking. She couldn't answer and the air went jagged. I felt the floor tilt toward a choice. "Call him right now from this phone." He slid my device back in front of me. Speaker on, no warnings, no sweeteners. I entered the number and pressed the green button. First ring, second ring, then a lazy hello. "Plan still good?" I asked with a tight tone. "Always," he replied, and he almost laughed. "Same place as last time," I pushed further. "Room prepaid, you bring the ring trek," he purred. Her knees buckled and she grabbed the table. He reached and hit record on his mobile. Theo kept talking like he enjoyed the echo. "Don't be late, husband travels early tomorrow." He hung up and left the line dead. We stood with pounding hearts and proof. Her face lifted and then crumpled again. "I can cancel the room before midnight." He stared at the floor and exhaled once. "You will cancel and send me confirmation now." She opened her phone with shaking thumbs and obeyed. "Message him the cancellation details," he added quietly. "Ask if he wants a different spot." She typed the bait and waited for the buzz. Reply arrived with a new address and a time. He took a screenshot and forwarded it to himself. Knocks hit the door hard enough to startle. I glanced through the peephole and saw no one. Another knock landed, then paused like an ear. He raised a finger and signaled stillness. Footsteps retreated toward the stairwell slowly. He turned back and fixed his attention again. "You will block him on every channel," he instructed. "You will share locations for the next week." She nodded with a quick jerk that looked painful. "You can track me tonight, take the spare." I'm leaving for a few days to breathe. He tucked the keys into her open palm. No contact with him or anyone helping him. He packed a small duffel with practice motions. He paused at the threshold and faced me. Drive her to your place after police, he said. My stomach clenched at the new word on purpose. We file a report for harassment and stalking. He looked at her and waited for resolve. She took a steady breath and lifted her chin. I will file, she said without shaking now. Then I will call my boss and reschedule. No explanation beyond personal emergency, he advised. He reached for the door but stopped short. His jaw worked like he bit back 10 lines. A call hit my phone with an unknown label. I swiped and held it away from my face. Put him on, Theo's voice slid through the speaker. You got cute downstairs with your parking trick. He chuckled once and let the silence hover. You will leave this block alone, I replied. You will stop filming and you will move on. Or what, he whispered and the line hissed. Or we give the wreck. Ordering to his attorney. He grunted like a hit finally landed. Tell her I never wanted forever, he added. Just the chase, she knew every step. I clicked end and threw the phone on the sofa. He watched me like he was recalculating lanes. Send that audio to several places, he instructed. She forwarded files to 3 trusted contacts immediately. She backed up the gallery to shared storage. He sent the hotel trail to his private email. He wrote a short note that sounded like closure. He pressed send and looked 10 years older. Another buzz lit her phone with an alert. A social tag from Theo's account popped on screen. A clip with lyrics and a caption about winning. He leaned over and recorded the whole post. Then he messaged a friend to archive the page. Pack a night bag, I told her gently. 2 changes, chargers, ID, I listed automatically. Skip the rest, we will buy anything missing. She moved fast and zipped a tote without wobbling. Her eyes stayed dry and focused on task. He stood in the doorway and blocked the hall. I'm not promising reconciliation, he said slowly and clearly. I'm promising we will finish this conversation sober. She nodded once like she accepted the terms. He shifted aside and allowed us to pass. We reached the landing and heard a car rev. I looked through the metal and saw the sedan again. Another figure sat in the passenger seat watching. He lifted a camera and pointed it upward. I felt the skin on my neck tighten. We go out together and straight to the station. I texted the rideshare to circle the block. It pulled up as the sedan rolled forward. They tried to box the lane and block our exit. Our driver leaned on the horn and inched ahead. A neighbor opened a window and started recording us. The sedan hesitated and fell back a length. We jumped into the rideshare and locked doors. The passenger in the sedan spoke into a headset. I watched his mouth and read one word, move. Our driver floored it and cut 3 side streets. My phone vibrated with a call from a private number. I ignored it and watched the mirror for pursuit. The sedan returned behind us with ruthless patience. I braced for the next turn and another test. The car behind us closed the gap fast. Left at the next light, I told our driver. He cut early and took an alley without warning. The tail skidded and missed the turn by meters. We buy seconds now or not at all. Her nails dug into her tote and then released. Call the precinct, she urged, face forward. I dialed and asked for the desk sergeant. We are incoming with evidence and a shadow, I said. Keep the line open, the operator replied. I did. The vehicle reappeared 2 blocks later, tighter and bolder. Straight through this intersection, I pointed, voice steady. Our driver accelerated and cleared the yellow with inches. A horn blasted behind us and faded like doubt. 2 more turns, I promised, willing it true. We rolled into the precinct, curb hard and abrupt. I threw the door wide and waved at the camera. Inside now, I urged, pushing her toward the steps. She ran and I covered her back with purpose. The shadow car hesitated and idled across the street. 2 officers stepped out of the vestibule and scanned me. Stalking case incoming, I said, lifting my phone. Footage and messages ready, I added, breath short. They hustled us through the first door without chit-chat. The air tasted like old coffee and impatience. Names, the desk officer asked, pen hovering. Photos first, I countered and slid the phone over. He glanced at the gallery and his posture shifted. Interview room 3, he directed, chin flicked right. Uniform on the door now, move. We sat across a worn table and waited seconds. A detective entered with a tablet and expressionless eyes. Tell me only what advances action, he instructed. I handed over the audio of that call. He listened and pressed pause at the smug parts. Do you expect him to escalate tonight? He asked. Yes, I replied and leaned forward. He has a partner in the car outside, I added. Her hands tightened around the tote again. What are our options? She asked, voice even. Temporary order, patrol sweep, and impound if crimes occur. Also a civil route later, he continued with clipped pace. Right now, I want him identified and removed. He angled the tablet toward me for a quick search. I typed the name and showed social profiles. The door opened and a patrol unit peeked in. Vehicle still circling, the officer reported with a jerk. Driver filming entrances and plates, he added bluntly. The detective nodded once and tapped a message out. Marked car is boxing him at the hydrant. He turned back and studied her with a colder tone. You are prepared to surrender your devices, he confirmed. Yes, she said and placed them down cleanly. Everything stays until we complete a copy, he warned. She nodded and faced the wall like it steadied her. The detective printed a quick form and underlined 2 lines. You state he solicited a meeting tonight at a hotel. You canceled and he offered a second location, he recapped. Correct, she answered, shoulders squared for the hit. Then we move on probable cause, he concluded. Footsteps pounded the hall and stopped at our door. The patrol officer leaned in and lifted a brow. His passenger just walked inside and asked for you. I stood without thinking, then sat when the detective glared. Stay seated, I will handle the theater. He left and the wall clock clicked like a taunt. Her mouth pressed thin and eyes locked on nothing. You are doing the right thing, I told her. I know, she whispered and shook once. We are past denial and into choices. The detective reappeared with a new tightness. Passenger claims to be a private mediator, he said. No credentials provided, he wants a chat outside. He waited for our reaction and measured the silence. Declined, I answered because traps wear nice clothes. A second unit's radio crackled in the hallway. Target vehicle attempted to flee and lightly clipped a bumper. Driver pulled over a block north, the voice reported. Back up on scene and documenting damage, it finished. The detective's jaw loosened a notch at the update. He pivoted to paperwork and began the formalities. Statement now, keep it spare and factual, he advised. She recounted each step with clipped occur. Akayan pauses. He typed and asked for clarifications when necessary. No padding, no stories, only moves that mattered. While she wrote, I messaged her husband a single update. At station, devices surrendered, action underway. 3 dots came and went then returned again. Copy, lawyer on call if needed, he replied. I pocketed the phone and braced for backlash. The detective finished and slid copies across the table. Sign and initial the attachments, he instructed, firm. After this, you ride with a unit to retrieve essentials. Then you relocate somewhere unknown to the target. He looked at me, you host or vet the stay. I can host tonight, I confirmed without wavering. She gets the bedroom and I take the couch. You place cameras at your door and garage, he added. You notify neighbors if anything suspicious appears. I nodded and felt responsibility land like weight. A uniform returned with a bag marked evidence. Phone from passenger, external drive from vehicle, he reported. The detective logged each item with steady cadence. We will seek a warrant for device contents, he said. Driver released with citations pending the report. From the hall, a voice raised then cut off abruptly. Let me talk to her now, it demanded then fell. Boots moved fast and something metal clicked twice. The detective didn't look up from the form. Interference gets you escorted out every time. He closed the file and studied us without blinking. You walk out with officers and do not linger. You vary your route and keep phones on silence. You text me if he breathes near your life. He stood and the room seemed smaller on purpose. We reached the lobby and paused before the doors. Across the street, the rideshare waited with hazards. The filming car had vanished from the block. A man paced near the corner and checked his pockets. He noticed us and started toward the steps fast. The detective lifted a hand and the patrol moved. The man hesitated, then turned a slow circle. He chose retreat and melted into the passing crowd. The detective looked at me and raised one eyebrow. Not your friend, another watcher, same playbook. We loaded into the unit and pulled into traffic. She sat between us and kept her eyes front. Home first or my place first? I asked softly. Home for 10 minutes, then we disappear, she answered. I warned the detective about the building's blind corner. We arrived and the block looked almost ordinary. The earlier car was gone and windows stayed quiet. A neighbor on the stoop lifted a phone and waved. The patrol checked both sides and signaled clear. We moved as a small formation toward the entry. Inside the hall, she unlocked the door with careful hands. I followed and grabbed the bag we packed earlier. She took a framed photo down without comment. Only this, she said, and slid it into the tote. Outside, a muffled shout echoed from somewhere above. The detective tensed and motioned us to keep moving. We descended and reached the street again quickly. As we approached the car, tires squealed at the corner. The familiar vehicle swung wide and slowed near us. The patrol stepped between and lifted a palm flat. Back it up, the officer warned, voice amplified by nerves. The vehicle reversed a meter, then halted crooked. The passenger window dropped and a camera poked out. I turned my back and shielded her with my body. The detective snapped a photo of the plate and bumper. Enough, he muttered, and radioed a command to dispatch. Another squad slid in behind the shadow and boxed it. Doors opened and words were exchanged quickly, too fast. A citation was issued and a warning delivered cleanly. The passenger laughed and shrugged at nothing at all. We got into the unit and pulled away in silence. Her hands trembled and then steadied around the tote. You are not alone tonight, I told her quietly. She nodded once and stared out at the passing blocks. I felt the next decision gathering like weather close. We reached my building and the patrol eased to a stop. Inside quickly, the officer urged with a curt nod. I scanned the block while she gathered her bag. No tail visible, but quiet can be a disguise. We climbed the stairs in a tight line. I unlocked my door and waved them through. Back room for her, the detective decided without ceremony. I checked the peephole twice and felt my jaw clench. Phones off Bluetooth, he instructed as he unpacked forms. Wi-Fi calling disabled, location sharing stays active. She toggled settings with steady fingers and a moving jaw. I watched for hesitation and saw none this time. A bang echoed from the alley behind our wall. The patrol moved fast toward the kitchen window. Probably trash pickup, he muttered, yet reached for his radio. We all froze as another thud followed closer. My doorbell buzzed 3 short bursts, then stopped. Expecting anyone, the detective asked with Newt. Ral tone. No, I answered and raised a hand for silence. The bell rang once more and then a long press. I opened my camera app and activated the feed. A hooded figure faced my lens without blinking. He lifted his phone and snapped a quick shot. The detective mouthed 2 words, do not. The figure stepped back and stood very still. Police, the patrol called through the wood with authority. Footsteps retreated down the stairwell with uneven rhythm. We traded looks and waited for the next knock. Her device buzzed on the countertop and rolled slightly. Unknown number again with a single text preview. Nice hiding spot, the line read with cruel cheer. She exhaled through her nose and set her shoulders. Reply with a decoy, the detective proposed without blinking. Invite him to the second location, he suggested. She typed slowly and held the screen for approval. He nodded once and took a timestamp photo. Meet me in 30, same plan, she wrote. Another message arrived almost instantly with 3 words. Bring our friend, it taunted with thin confidence. I felt my stomach harden as if bracing for impact. The detective called the precinct and spoke in bursts. Sting setup, hotel detail, send plainclothes now. He listened, then confirmed with a clipped yes. He covered the mic and looked at me. You drive her halfway and then divert, he instructed. Stop at a busy corner and swap vehicles. Plainclothes take her the rest of the route. I nodded and checked my keys with quick fingers. Her hands steadied while she tied her hair back. I will not engage him, she promised, voice low. You will not speak at all, the detective corrected gently. You will look down and follow directions, period. We left my apartment and moved as a unit. The hallway stayed empty and quiet like a held breath. At the curb, an unmarked car idled with windows up. The detective conferred with the driver in whispers. We rolled out with the patrol behind us. I took a right, then a left, then stopped short. The detective's car continued straight as planned. We break the pattern here, I said and waited. She checked the mirror and squeezed my arm once. You okay to do this? I asked without turning. I invited a fire, I can help end it, she answered. Her eyes stayed forward and unblinking through the glass. Halfway to the rendezvous, my phone flashed a call. Unknown again, with numbers that looked auto-generated. I declined and received a voicemail within seconds. I pressed play and held it near my ear. I see you, cute detour, Theo crooned with boredom. Send her alone or I start knocking on doors. You know which doors, he added with a laugh. My pulse spiked and then steadied into resolve. I forwarded the voicemail to the detective's number. He replied with a short directive and a pin. Drop location changed, follow the blue mark. I turned and headed toward a crowded intersection. We parked near a pharmacy and waited for headlights. An undercover sedan pulled up nose to nose. A woman in a baseball cap waved us over. Bag only, no phone, no wallet, she instructed. She handed over the bag and slid into the backseat. I passed my spare keys to the detective's partner. Lock your door and go home after this, he said. He pointed toward my building through 2 streets of traffic. The decoy team pulled away and blended in immediately. I sat still and watched the crosswalk numbers count down. A boy on a scooter zipped by with headphones blaring. Normal life moved like none of this existed. My phone buzzed with a new notification. Feed showed a fresh story on a burner account. Photo of my entrance with a grainy caption. Where the party at? It read with mocking punctuation. I flagged the post and sent it to the detective. He answered with one line and an exclamation. We have him on site, the message read. Wait for my call, it added with urgency. Minutes dragged and then my screen lit up. He approached the lobby, then veered to the bar, came through. Partner following inside, she remains in the car. I gripped the wheel and breathed through my teeth. Another update hit with rapid clarity. He asked the bartender for a key envelope. Staff claims no reservation under his alias. He is leaving and scanning the street. I pictured the block and counted angles fast. Entry, parking garage, side door through the alley. If he missed her car, he would hunt anyway. The detective sent a final instruction with haste. Head to the secondary checkpoint near your place. Turn your phone off for 5 minutes. Then power up and read my message, he wrote. I followed the plan and pulled away cautiously. As I approached my neighborhood, a delivery truck stalled. Traffic stacked up and horns started barking on instinct. I checked the mirror and saw a coupe 3 cars back. Camera mount on the dash and a familiar silhouette. I cut down a side street and slowed deliberately. E-coupe followed with predatory patience but hung back. I turned again and reached a brighter crossroad. I spotted a patrol car sitting dark near a hydrant. I rolled to a stop and flashed my lights twice. The patrol woke up and pulled behind me. The coupe hesitated at the corner and paused awkwardly. The officer stepped out and approached the driver casually. While they chatted, my screen came alive again. Target left the hotel on foot, the detective texted. Lost the tail, we suspect split team tactics, he added. Stay put until we regroup, the next line insisted. The officer returned with a clipped update. Driver claims to be a vlog contractor, he shared. He's clean for now, but I took his info. Do not head straight home for a bit. I looped the neighborhood twice with measured speed. No coupe behind me and no watchers on corners. I parked 2 blocks away and walked with purpose. Every doorway felt like it held a breath. My phone rang with the detective's number finally. We intercepted Theo 2 blocks from the hotel, he said. He ran when we challenged and dropped his device. We have the second guy at your complex lobby. Come to the precinct again for statements. Is she safe? I asked with my throat tight. She is with uniform and asking for you, he answered. Bring your charger and stay hydrated, he added dryly. Even that small kindness felt like a rope. I jogged back to the car and pulled out. The block looked calmer yet sharp around the edges. My building glowed like a chessboard I suddenly knew. I parked halfway and hurried the rest on foot. The lobby held 2 officers and a quiet man. He stared at the wall and chewed his lip. A body camera sat on the check-in desk recording everything. I avoided his eyes and signed where they indicated. Plainclothes found location notes in his messenger app, one officer shared. Pins for several addresses including yours, he continued briskly. We are packaging the device for digital extraction now. We need you both for identification and more details. I looked over to her and she looked back. No tears now, only a tight focus that surprised me. I will keep doing the hard steps, she said. Even if he bluffs and tries new games. We rode in the squad car with windows cracked. Street noise seeped in and kept my thoughts practical. I drafted a message to her husband with caution. He was intercepted, we are safe, statements next. At the station, the detective met us at intake. Good news first, he said, holding a clipboard. Hotel camera shows him loitering near the entrance alone. No meeting occurred and your cancellation is logged. He ticked a few items with a pen. Less good news, he continued with steady cadence. We recovered a list of your schedules and routes. Compiled over several weeks by multiple accounts. She steadied herself against the desk and blinked hard. How many people? She asked with a hollow tone. 3 beyond him and the driver, the detective answered. 2 are online boosters, 1 lives nearby. Do we press charges tonight? I asked quickly. Yes, for harassment and trespass and possibly more, he said. Your testimony and the recordings support the package. We already notified the night judge for the order. We completed forms with dry throats and aching wrists. He printed copies and placed them in separate folders. Tomorrow a detective will call with the next steps. Tonight you go to a place he does not expect. She turned to me and lifted the bag higher. Your couch or a hotel out of town? She asked. Couch, I answered, because routine beats novelty during crisis. She nodded once and let her shoulders relax a fraction. The detective walked us out and paused at the curb. Remember your part in this mess, he said calmly. Own it publicly with your partner or this lingers. She swallowed and nodded again with less fear. During the drive back I kept my eyes scanning. No cars seemed interested and no figures tracked us. We parked in a different lot and crossed on foot. I texted 2 neighbors and asked for quiet vigilance. Inside my place she placed the framed photo down. She stood over it for 5 seconds without blinking. I am calling him now, she murmured with intent. Put it on speaker and face the wall, I instructed. Her husband answered before the first full ring. I saw the paperwork, his voice came steady. I'm not promising home, he added without cruelty. I am promising time to see if truth holds. She described the sting and the arrests in brief. No pleading, no fluff, just moves and outcomes. I will stay at Mara's place tonight, she finished. Silence hung until he breathed once and agreed. Tomorrow morning we will sit at a cafe, he said. You will bring a timeline and passwords, he continued. You will follow my lead during the call, he added. Then we speak to a counselor and a lawyer. She ended the call and Lee. Ned against the wall. I want to crawl out of my skin, she confessed. You stay in it and keep walking, I responded. We stared at the blank television and listened for threats. My phone pinged with an email from the detective. Safe number for overnight check-ins, the subject read. He included a patrol schedule for our block. He closed with 3 words I did not expect, proud of restraint. I lay on the couch and kept my shoes on. She closed the bedroom door but left it unlocked. I heard her breathing slow, then hitch, then even out. I watched the ceiling and counted every quiet in order. Another notification crawled across my lock screen. A final message from a muted account slipped through. "This is not finished," the line warned with brittle bravado. I archived it and wrote back 2 words, "Try me." I placed my phone face down and stared into darkness. I replayed the moment I spoke the unforgiving line. I wondered if the truth can be both medicine and blade. I decided I will keep choosing honesty, even when it cuts. I woke to a sharp knock and my phone flashing. "Cafe and 40 back table," his text read. She stood in the doorway with shoes on already. "I'm ready to face him," she said, jaw steady. We left by the side stair and kept moving. A patrol car rolled past and didn't stop. I checked the corners before we crossed the street. 3 breaths, then we walk like it's normal, I said. At the cafe door, he was waiting with folded arms. He looked at both of us, then at the clock. "Phones on the table," he said, voice even. We placed them down and sat without touching anything. "I prepared a timeline," she started, eyes on him. "No monologues," he cut in and tapped the screen. "Answer what I ask and nothing extra," he added. She nodded and laced her fingers to keep still. "Were there any meetings I don't know about?" "No," she answered fast and held his stare. "Any secrets still in your pocket right now?" "Only embarrassment," she said and winced on purpose. He brought up a folder and slid it over. "Read this list and confirm each entry." She scanned names and times and ride drops. 3 entries had question marks and empty notes. "Those 3 are work events I skipped," she admitted. His jaw flexed once, then quieted again. "You skipped to make space for what?" he asked. "To feel wanted," she whispered into her hands. He didn't comfort her, he watched for honesty. "Today we write rules or we write endings," he said. "Choose one while you still have a voice." She straightened and lifted her chin a fraction. "Rules," she said with conviction that didn't shake. He turned to me and narrowed his eyes. "You will speak only when I need clarity," he said. "You will not advocate for her in here." "I can do that," I answered without friction. I took a sip and let the heat focus me. I kept my eyes on the street for watchers. No familiar faces, no parked cars hanging around. He opened a new note and started writing. "No one-on-one with men outside work hours," he wrote. "No locked profiles, no disappearing chats, no excuses." She breathed in and out like she was counting. 2 weekly counseling until trust isn't imaginary, he continued. 3 joint bank access and real-time calendar sharing. 4 public apology to our families on my terms. He paused and studied her face for a flinch. "I accept all of that," she answered without stalling. He turned to me and waited a beat longer. "You will add a rule for yourself," he said. "You will not hold secret files on my marriage." I let the words land and nodded once. "I built files to keep the truth from drowning," I said. "I won't collect anything behind your back again." His eyes softened a millimeter, then hardened again. "Good," he said and placed a card down. "Call this lawyer at noon for guidance." "We start the order paperwork today," he added. "Then we set boundaries for our friend group." She flinched at that last phrase and swallowed hard. "Anyone who fed this earns distance," he said sternly. "I will not share my life with spectators," he continued. She reached for the card and held it tight. A sound from the street pulled our attention outside. 2 officers approached with plain envelopes in hand. They looked at me and then at the table. "Service of Temporary Protective Order," the taller announced. They handed copies to her and a receipt to him. "Target has been notified and acknowledged delivery," the other added. "Violation triggers arrest without warning," he finished crisply. They stepped back and left us with the paper. He scanned the packet and marked 2 sections. "These are the lines that will save us," he said. "No contact, no proximity, no proxies," he underlined. She exhaled and blinked fast like she might cry. A phone on the neighboring table vibrated with alerts. 3 customers looked up at the same time. A post from Theo's page started a trend. Caption accused her of framing and manipulation. He turned his screen and showed the smear. "He's trying to get ahead of the story," he said. "Do not respond directly," I warned through clenched teeth. "Screenshots only, send everything to the detective." He opened a group thread and attached the post. He wrote 1 sentence and included the case number. Disinformation campaign in progress. Preserve and report, he typed. He hit send and put the phone face down. She stared at her hands and found her voice. I will record a video for family, she said. Not public, just accountability and truth, she clarified. He considered it and then gave a slow nod. 2 minutes only, no blame games, he instructed calmly. You state actions and next steps, he continued. You ask for space while we repair, he finished. She held up her phone and hit record. I betrayed trust and invited chaos, she began. I ended contact and cooperated with police, she continued. I'm following rules we built together starting now, she said. I will do the work without applause, she ended. She sent the clip to 2 family threads. We waited for the first responses to appear. One came quickly from a cousin with a question. Are you safe and with your spouse? It read. He typed the reply and kept it simple. She is with me and a friend, he wrote. We are handling it through lawful channels, he added. No extra details, no openings for gossip. Another alert lit my screen with an incoming call. The detective's name appeared with the precinct number. Target posted false claims about evidence, he reported. Stay off public replies and let us handle it. He laid out the next chess move succinctly. Court date confirmed for Friday morning, he said. Bring printed copies of messages and call logs, he added. Prepare to request extension to 90 days. We agreed and ended the call with purpose. He closed his eyes for one long second. I can attempt this marriage if you fight clean, he said. You do not get grace if you stall. She leaned forward and rested her forehead on her wrist. I will fight clean, she promised in a low voice. I will delete every trace that keeps doors open, she added. Start with the backups, he replied without hesitation. We paid and left by different routes. He walked north and we headed west. Stay close but not obviously together, I sugges. Ted. She followed with a half step behind me. On the sidewalk, a stranger lifted a phone toward us. He angled it for a quick clip and smiled. I turned and held up the protective order. This covers filming intended for harassment, I announced. He lowered his device and backed into a doorway. Relax, I'm just curious, he tried weakly. Curiosity stops where safety begins, I said. He melted away and pretended to get a call. We reached my block and paused near the corner. A delivery van rolled by with windows cracked. 2 faces inside glanced our way and kept rolling. I memorized the plate for later and kept walking. Upstairs, I placed water on the counter and waited. She stood still for 5 beats, then drank. We have 5 hours until the lawyer call, I said. Use them to close loops and block access. We sat on the floor and worked through accounts. She changed passwords and enabled fresh protections. She unlinked third-party apps that didn't need access. She removed recovery emails that belonged to others. While she tapped through menus, my phone lit up. A message from the detective landed in bold. Target's driver is asking for a deal, it read. Willing to identify organizers for leniency. I forwarded the note to her husband with caution. He responded with a single directive and time. Do not engage until counsel speaks at noon, he wrote. We set the devices down and stretched cramped fingers. Did I ruin everything beyond repair? She asked softly. Not if you choose discomfort for a long time, I answered. Integrity is ugly at first and then easier, I added. She nodded and pulled her hair into a knot. Noon approached like a checkpoint we needed to clear. We joined the call with the attorney on screen. He wore a neutral expression that didn't invite pity. Tell me the facts and the goal, he began. We laid out the order and the smear. We confirmed the upcoming hearing and digital extraction. He listened and took notes without commentary. Then he outlined 3 actions for the next week. First, lock down privacy on every platform, he said. Second, publish 1 public statement through my office. Third, assemble timelines for court and counseling, he concluded. He paused and focused on her with intention. You also owe restitution to your partner, he continued. Not money, restoration of reliability and respect, he clarified. That involves radical transparency and sustained boredom, he said. She managed a thin smile and accepted the sentence. He turned to me and adjusted the plan. You should keep distance during their repair window, he advised. You can assist with logistics and boundaries only, he added. Do not be the translator for their pain. I looked at her and then at the clock. I will help with tasks and then step back, I said. I will not run interference during hard conversations, I added. It felt right and it felt heavy at once. The lawyer sent a draft statement to review. We read it twice and suggested small corrections. No blame crafted, no insults included, just facts. He approved the text and scheduled a release. Afternoon arrived, and with it another challenge. Theo sent a direct message through a fresh handle. He wrote a single taunt and an address. Meet now or I share more, it threatened. We forwarded the message and deleted the thread instantly. The detective responded with a thumbs up and a plan. Bait declined, we will monitor the address anyway, he wrote. I closed the app and rubbed my eyes. Her husband called and asked for an update. He wanted specifics and verifiable steps only. We talked through the lawyer plan and the changes. He listened and then gave one last instruction. Tonight you sleep at Mara's place again, he said. Tomorrow morning we meet for counseling intake, he continued. You bring your written timeline with dates and screenshots, he added. We keep going until the noise runs out. We hung up and sat in the silence. Outside, traffic moved and horns chirped occasional warnings. Inside, commitment formed like a slow-set cast. I felt my own shift in the weight of it. Evening settled and I checked the hallway camera. A stranger lingered near my door, then drifted off. I recorded the timestamp and forwarded it to the detective. He replied that a car was circulating the block. We ate quickly and kept our phones nearby. No wine, no distractions, only steady focus. She drafted the timeline while I organized attachments. We printed nothing yet, we saved multiple copies. At 9, the detective called with an update. The driver flipped and named 2 collaborators, he said. One lives 3 buildings from you, he added. Expect a visit tonight for a welfare check. The knock came 15 minutes later with deliberate rhythm. 2 officers verified our names and checked window locks. They placed a card on the table for emergencies. Call if anyone lingers outside or knocks weird. One instructed. We settled again and stared at the quiet door. Do you hate me for dragging you into this? She asked. I hate what risk did to us, I answered. I also like who you can become, I added. Her eyes filled and then cleared without spilling. I will earn back being worth your effort, she said. Not with words, with choices that hold, she finished. The room felt lighter but not soft. Near midnight, the lawyer's statement went live. It named no one and thanked the precinct. It confirmed cooperation and asked for privacy. Comments flooded in, mixed and loud and predictable. We muted alerts and set the phones aside. We stretched blankets across the couch and chair. Wake me if anything strange pops, I told her. I closed my eyes and kept my shoes on. Sleep came in pieces that never fully joined. A bang in the alley woke me fast. I checked the camera and saw a familiar shape. Theo's partner paced the sidewalk, then peered up. I recorded a short clip and texted the detective. A squad car rolled by within a minute. The partner vanished between parked cars without running. 2 officers stepped out and scanned the block. They rang my bell with a quick triple press. Stay inside, we're circling again, came through the door. Footsteps retreated and tires squealed in the distance. I lay back down and watched shadows crawl. At 4, my phone buzzed with a single message. Court approved an extension until Friday, the detective wrote. Judge wants you there with counsel, he added. Bring proof of online harassment and stalking. I exhaled and felt my chest finally loosen. She stirred in the next room and called softly. Is it over? She asked through the door. No, but it's moving our way, I answered. Dawn pushed us toward the next set of tasks. We brewed coffee and reviewed tomorrow's checklist. She practiced the facts without apology or excuses. I listened and corrected where memory warped. When her husband arrived, he waited at the curb. He didn't enter, he didn't beckon, he stood firm. She hugged herself once, then walked toward him. She didn't look back and I didn't call out. He opened the car and she climbed in carefully. He glanced up and gave me one nod. It wasn't forgiveness, it wasn't farewell, it was permission. Drive safe, it said without words, then they left. I closed the door and leaned against the wall. I replayed the moment I told her the brutal line. I still believe it saved us from a worse fire. I also know I will carry the scorch for a while. My phone chimed with a final morning update. Theo turned himself in with counsel present, it read. Charges filed, court date set, no contact reinforced. I stared at the message and felt the pivot. Was I wrong to speak that hard sentence? I measured the wreckage against the route to repair. I do not regret the truth or the timing. I regret how long I let silence almost win.